Buongiorno a tutti e benvenuti. Sono Marco Carpati, responsabile marketing e comunicazione di Fowa. Vi ringrazio a nome dell'azienda per essere venuti qui. Siamo lieti di annunciare una nuova importante distribuzione nel mercato italiano fotografico. Siamo lieti di annunciare una nuova collaborazione con Lytro. Lytro è un'azienda americana, una startup con sede nella Silicon Valley. Ha scelto Fowa come distributore in Italia di Illum. Passo alla presentazione delle persone sedute qua a fianco a me. Abbiamo Jeff Hansen, Vice President e Global Sales di Lytro, Sandro Fulghieri, Managing Director EMEA. Per Fowa abbiamo Donato L'Insalata, General Manager, Andrea Alfiero, Brand and Photo Channel Manager di Fowa, Andrea Viano, Product Specialist e tecnico di prodotto di Lytro, l'abbiamo alle nostre spalle, sarà presente alla sala pose che abbiamo qua fuori, e ci sono anch'io. Colgo l'occasione per ringraziare Liliana Malimpensa e la sua agenzia che ha reso possibile tutto questo. Vediamo l'agenda di oggi. Ci sarà una prima parte che parlerà di noi, chi è Fowa, un po' per rinfrescarci, siamo sul mercato da 60 anni ormai, ma forse è bene ricordarci un attimo chi siamo. Passeremo la parola ai nostri illustri ospiti di Lytro per la parte di presentazione prodotto. Dopodiché parleremo di come verrà distribuito il prodotto in Italia e le politiche commerciali. Avremo una sessione di domande e risposte, quindi vi passeremo il microfono e potrete porre tutte le domande e le richieste che volete ai nostri ospiti. Dopodiché ci potremo spostare nella sala scatto, saranno presenti 4 prodotti e potremo testarli. Abbiamo anche delle bellissime fanciulle da fotografare, abbiamo ricreato anche un set per la macrofotografia. Ci sarà un computer con il software installato, quindi sarà possibile andare a fondo su tutti i file e testarlo. Dopodiché avremo ancora uno spazio dedicato per tutte le interviste, per chi ne ha voglia, ovviamente, e il buffet. Passiamo a parlare di Fowa. Fowa ormai è quasi 60 anni che è nel mercato della distribuzione della fotografia in Italia. L'azienda è nata appunto nel 1958, quando la signora Winkler ha fondato la prima azienda del gruppo, la Foto Esatta. Non trascendiamo in tutte le date, che diventerebbe sicuramente molto lungo, vediamo le più importanti. Nel 1991 è stata acquisita la distribuzione di Nikon in Italia, sempre tramite Fowa, ma per ovvi motivi di concorrenza con gli altri marchi che avevamo è stata fondata una nuova azienda, l'attuale Nital. Nel 2011 purtroppo viene a mancare la signora Winkler e le redini di tutto il gruppo vengono prese dal figlio, il signor Aldo Winkler. Nel 2015 Fowa è un'azienda molto giovane e dinamica in continua crescita, si stanno inserendo nuovi marchi, nuove persone, tutto questo per renderci ancora il distributore numero 1 in Italia nel mercato fotografico. Il gruppo oggi è formato da Fowa, azienda commerciale, importatore e distributore di svariati marchi fotografici, da Nital, sempre azienda commerciale e distributore di prodotti fotografici, LTR Service, la nostra azienda di riparazione che ripara tutti i prodotti distribuiti dal nostro gruppo, e PMA, azienda di logistica interna che distribuisce tutti i nostri prodotti fotografici. Nel 2012 ci siamo trasferiti nella nuova sede di Via Tabacchi, ieri, per ovvi motivi di spazio, non ci stavamo più nella vecchia sede. Allora abbiamo migrato in questa nuova sede dove abbiamo creato nuovi spazi molto più grandi, con molte sale molto dinamiche dove possiamo proiettare, fare conferenze e quant'altro. Vi ringrazio per l'attenzione e passo la parola ai colleghi di Lytro.
Buongiorno. I wish I could speak Italian as well as they could, but unfortunately you're going to get English from me today. So hopefully those who have translations are able to understand the translation into Italian. Thank you for being here. We're very excited to be here in Italy and working with our partner Fowa. My name is Jeff Hansen and I'm in charge of our global sales. With Lytro we have rolled out around the world, and this is a very important market for us in Europe. So it's taken a while for us to find the right partner, and we're very excited to have a partnership with Fowa here in Italy. The images that you just saw in that image, in the video, represent still single images that are captured by the Lytro Illum, yet are created to end up with what we call a living picture. The ability to animate and move through an image is very unique to Lytro Illum. It's impossible to do in the same way with any other camera in the world. We're all familiar with our own eyes. Our eyes are unique in the world, but we've also seen these kinds of eyes. This kind of a multi-lens eye system is unique in the animal kingdom as well. What we believe is that there's an opportunity to create a lens, an eye, that does not exist in nature to begin with. If you took our human eye and then you overlaid it with a lens that had multiple hundreds, maybe thousands of lenses in nature, what you would get is what we call a light. Technology actually works, but this would be a unique lens if we ever saw it. I'm going to give you a little bit of history on the history of photography. As many of you in this room probably remember, that really all that we cared about at one time was film. And it ran its own course up until about 2009 when Kodak discontinued the Kodachrome. We started to see a transition into digital photography. It was a major transition for photography to begin with. Photographers felt like I would never move from film, I'm not going to go to digital, but as we know, the migration absolutely happened. Started first in the early 90s with digital cameras that were less than 1 megapixel. And of course, as we started to see cameras come into phones, we saw literally billions of new photographers all around the world taking images on their phones in a very accessible way. But for professional photographers, this can be a challenge. Things like Instagram make it easy for a consumer to take an image and create an image that is used to take a lot of extra work and potentially software knowledge. For a professional photographer, differentiation has become very difficult. We're now entering what we believe is to be a very new and similar phase as the migration from film to digital, and that's in the light field photography. Light field photography actually has a history that's over 400 years old. Light field is basically capturing the angles and direction and intensity of light. This man on the screen here is the founder of Lytro. He was working on a doctoral PhD at Stanford University many years ago, and he created what was then the first light field array. An array is multiple cameras put side by side. It was 9 by 9, and it was the first one that was able to capture angles and direction and intensity of light. He merged those into one common image, and that became what we call the first depth map, an image with depth. From there, he created a company, and we had our first commercial product that came to market several years ago. We call it the Generation 1 now. It was the first commercially available light field camera ever in the world. We learned a lot from this camera. Clearly, it was, from a physical perspective, very unique and has good and bad, but we also learned a lot from it in creating our second product, which is the Lytro Illum. And really, this is the first professional level light field camera ever in the world. And that's what we're announcing today, is coming to Italy. As we look back at the history of photography, and you look at the transition from analog to digital, both of those genres use 2D data. There's not a depth map there. There's not rich 3D data. What's different with light field photography, what we call camera 3.0, is that it's 3D rich data. This entire genre is what we call computational photography. It's really marrying the capabilities of a computer with graphics. Our software, our camera really is a software enabled by hardware, and it changes the way that you can interact with, manipulate, and utilize a digital image. We believe this is the evolution that is occurring in the industry, and we're the first to bring computational photography to market. So our journey so far, as I mentioned, we had brought to market this first product. It solidified the fact that we could actually create a commercially viable light field camera. As we introduced the second generation of the product with Lytro Illum, we really focused on it becoming an imaging platform. We're not just creating a camera, we're creating a software platform. Many of the capabilities that occur inside the camera are actually done with software, not with hardware. And that's a departure from what normally happens in the photo industry. So with Lytro becoming an imaging platform, we build a platform we can build off of on the software. In moving from our first generation to second generation, we increased the resolution 4 times. We introduced brand new world-class light field optics. We can do things with our lens that cannot be done with any other lens. We increased the power, the processing power, substantially, and I'll go through that in detail in a second. And then we introduced an interface, a smartphone-like touchscreen on the back of the camera, which again is very unique in the industry for a full-fledged DSLR. So in creating Lytro Illum, we really were looking for a camera that allows a serious photographer to control all elements. It has an incredible zoom, ability to change shutter speed, ISO, etc. We also, I'm sure you'll see as you handle it, it's a design that is truly futuristic. It's like nothing else in the photo industry. You'll also be very surprised by how light it is. Something that has a zoom range like this and is this capable typically would be much heavier. And I'll explain later why it's so light. And of course, the light field engine behind it is software powered, and this powers the entire platform that we're talking about. What's also unique is that this product is software enabled by hardware, in that we can provide product updates on a very regular basis. Typically, in the photo industry, a camera manufacturer, if you're an owner of a typical 2D camera, an Nikon, a Canon, etc., you probably update your firmware maybe 2 or 3 times in the life of the camera. And it doesn't dramatically change your interface and interaction with the camera. That's not the case with ours. Similar to a smartphone or a tablet, we can continually update the interface, the look, and the functionality. And in just the last 5 months, we've introduced 11 product updates. We have another one coming next week, and we'll continue to have multiple more coming out. I'm going to specifically talk about the one in the middle, which is called Focus Spread, in more detail later. It's truly available only from Lytro and the capabilities we can use in our software. So what do we get when we transform what's normally been done with hardware, the physics, into software? First, I'm going to show you one of the 2 pieces that makes light field photography unique. This is what we call an MLA. This is a micro lens array. The concept behind light field photography is that in front of a sensor is an MLA with thousands of small little lenses. This is what allows us to capture the angle and direction of light. The software then anticipates where those light rays should go. As I pull this forward, you're going to see that you can see the light coming through this. In each one of these little lenses, you can see how we can see the direction and color and intensity of the light. This MLA sits right in front of our sensor and gives us the extra data that we have that no other camera in the world has. So this is a typical lens with a sensor. The black over on the right represents where the sensor is. As light comes in, it's refracted and narrowed and channeled by lenses. If we were to look at a typical image, once you've defined a focal point and depth of field, we can actually change that after the fact. I click on a part of the image and it changes. The way that this is working is that our software is simulating where the sensor would be if you moved it. So if I have an image that I wanted to focus on the car, it's effectively like moving the sensor out, farther out, and making the focal plane a little bit longer. You can see that the rays of light hit at a different level, and because of that, our software is able to anticipate that, and you can actually manipulate depth of field and focus after the fact. If I want to focus closer, it would be like simulating pulling the sensor closer to you. If I want to focus far, moving it out. You can continue to do this inside the image, and you can export this as an export. Let me talk a little bit about the product itself. It retails for 1,299 euros. It has an 8x optical zoom lens, goes from 30 to 250 millimeters, and it's a fixed f2 all the way through the range. This is very unique, having a fixed f-stop all the way through the range. The sensor, I'm going to go into more detail on the lens in a second. The sensor is what we call a 40 mega ray sensor. It's capturing 40 million rays of light. We've become accustomed in the photo industry to be talking about megapixels. It's actually even more than megapixels because we're capturing more data than just the photon that is associated with megapixels. In addition, to capture all this data and process it in a very powerful process. We have a Qualcomm processor. And then the uniqueness of its lens. Looks like I'm cut off a little bit on the way it's presenting. It's supposed to say an AX zoom lens.
Allora, guardate, lo zoom ottico equivalente da 30 mm a 250 mm. Se lo confrontiamo con una lente Canon che esiste da 30 anni, ma ha un F di 2.8, costa molto, e noi possiamo ottenere uno zoom ottico che è 2 volte più rapido di quello della Canon con delle ottiche fisse. Ci permette perché pesa solo 11 rispetto ai 2 kg dell'obiettivo. Il fatto di avere un sensore potente è molto
But we're continuing to work on additional sensors that are even bigger. This is actually amongst the biggest sensors in the industry. As I mentioned, we have a powerful processor. That processor not only powers the ability to process the data, the images we capture with your limb, but also provides real-time feedback. Not only do you have a live view of what you're seeing, I will show you also what we call a Lytro button, which gives you real-time feedback on depth. It uses an SD card, so you can take the SD card out, put it in the camera, or you can pull it straight out the camera from the USB 3.0. And of course, on the top, you've got a hot shoe that works with most any industry standard flash. We do have a Lytro-specific flash that allows full TTL capability using microfield. What I just
anche
mentioned
in
is
Light
a
Field.
very unique capability we have.
Quindi
We
le
call it the Lytro Illum.
straordinarie
What
capacità
this is
di
called
questo
depth assist.
prodotto
It's
sono
before you even take the
anche
image,
caratterizzate dal
what you're
depth
seeing and what will
assist
lead
via
into the
switch,
focusal
ossia
range
avete
after the fact.
un'assistenza nella
It's important
profondità di
as you
campo.
try and create
Questo
depth.
vi
Of course, you wouldn't want to
aiuta
take an
a
image if you had no
creare
ability
una
to manipulate
profondità
the
di
depth field
campo. A volte
afterwards.
ci sono delle
So
immagini
what
in
this
cui non è
represents
possibile
are
manipolare
blue.
dopo la profondità.
The blue in the foreground are
Qui
items that
avete
are
per
in the
esempio il
foreground.
blu nello
Orange represents items that are in the background.
l'arancione
So our
rappresenta in
focal point is
questo
somewhere
caso
around right
gli
here.
elementi che
Of course, I can
possono
change the focal point
essere
with my manual or
in
automatic
primo
focus.
piano. Voi avete il
But
focus
whatever I do with that
automatico per
with that focus, I
regolare
end
la
up with objects that
profondità,
are in the foreground
però
and in
potete
the background.
spostare gli oggetti che si
This
trovano
allows
in
you
primo
to see
piano rispetto a quelli
dynamically,
che si
before you
trovano
take the image, what items are going to be in your refocusal range. So anything that's blue, anything that's orange, you'll be able to manipulate afterwards. In composing, we realize that it's very different to compose in 3D versus 2D. This also, again, helps you compose for depth. If you have an equal distribution of blue and orange, you're going to end up with a good amount of depth in the image. Very important to create what we call perspective shift, which is a 3D kind of a feel. You can actually make the picture move, as well as to create the ability to move through an image as you work with it. This capability is fundamental, and we'd like to show it to you as you interact with the cameras afterwards. When you do purchase the Illum, we've supplied many things that come in the box itself. Of course, the standard things like a strap,
batteria, a parte
overexposed, so you're able to use industry standard ND filters to stop down the image. In addition, we have a strap because they're not shooting the normal way by pulling up
per esempio se voi fate una foto da lontano, avete bisogno delle caratteristiche particolari, abbiamo per esempio una flash
shots with a light field camera, we have a deeper depth field to light than normal, so
avete bisogno di un certo tipo di profondità di campo, vi serve un'illuminazione del flash molto particolare e potete farlo grazie a questa
Now I'm going to
fotocamera.
talk a little bit about the rest of the ecosystem. I've talked about the camera
Allora, vi ho
and what you're able to do with the
parlato
camera.
della fotocamera, vi ho
But of
detto
course,
cosa
you need to be able to get the images
potete fare con la
out and
fotocamera,
use them.
però potete
Every
poi
image that is
utilizzare le
shot with
immagini
Lytro
che
is a
avete
proprietary raw file
scattato.
format.
Ci sono
So because it's a
dei
raw file format, you can change it the same way you do any other raw
formati
file.
di
Tonal
file
saturation,
che
white
potete
balance,
modificare come volete, potete
and cropping
fare
and other editing.
un bilanciamento
But
dell'immagine,
what we want to make sure you
potete fare
understand is that
anche
every image you take can also be
cropping, però
exported
vi
to
vorrei
industry
dire
standard
che
file format.
tutte
You can export it to a JPEG, you can
immagini
export it to
possono
a
essere
zip, a secondary
esportate
zip. You work on
in
Photoshop.
JPEG,
Import it back in and
potete
it'll have
lavorare
all the depth
con
features that you would
Photoshop,
want.
avete tutte le
If you want to
caratteristiche che vi
export it as a
permettono di
3D image, you can
modificare
actually
l'immagine,
export a 3D
potete
image
esportare
and use it on a
un'immagine in
3D
3D,
TV,
utilizzarla in su una televisione tridimensionale, stamparla in
if you
3D
animate
e
a
poi
particular
se
image and you go
fate
through, that export
un'animazione
can be exported as
sull'immagine,
an MOV
anche
or an
questa si
MP4
può
file, so you can share
esportare
it as you would any other video
in un
file.
file MP4.
It's a free download.
Quindi
It's
il
on Mac or
download
PC
è
compatible,
gratuito,
and it's
l'importante
available
è
even
avere
if you
un
don't have a
PC
camera on
compatibile, quindi
Lytro.com.
se non avete la
Some of the key
telecamera
features,
potete
we don't want to recreate
trovarlo su
Photoshop, but we have functionality that's
Ci
unique
sono
to the
delle
Lytro camera
funzionalità
because we have
uniche di questa
aspects and
fotocamera
assets that
Lytro,
are unique.
abbiamo degli aspetti
Of course, you can change the
assolutamente
white balance and
esclusivi.
do saturation and tone
Ovviamente
adjustments,
potete
as I mentioned.
cambiare la
But
white
you can
balance,
also
la
render 3D.
saturazione,
You
potete
can create
anche avere
animation.
un rendering
You can
in
select
3D,
different
avere
focal points,
un'animazione,
different depth of field,
selezionare
and then
vari campi
animate that
focali, la
throughout, telling
profondità
a
di
story.
campo e in
That's
questo
all
modo
done inside of the
raccontare
desktop
una
in a very
storia,
simple
quindi
movie-like editor,
come se
which
fosse
is
un
provided for you
film.
free. I'm also going to talk about a concept called focus spread, and I will go over
Vorrei
that in
parlarvi
depth
di un altro
live on
concetto
my
che si
computer in
chiama
just one second.
focus spread.
Most
spread.
importantly,
La
it's a
cosa più
very simple
importante
slider bar.
è
I can
che
move an image from
una semplice
F1
barra
to
di
F16.
slide si può passare
Now,
da
as I
F1 a
mentioned, this is an
F16.
F2
Come vi ho
lens, so
detto,
every
questa è
picture is
un'ottica
captured natively in
F22,
F2.
quindi
However,
l'immagine viene
think of it as
catturata
a
in
lens that actually is
F2,
an
però
F1
ci sono obiettivi
and every image you
F1
capture can go
e
from F1
tutto
to
quello
F16.
che le immagini che catturate potete modificarle
I
da
want to talk
F1
about
a
focus spread.
F16. Parliamo
This is
di
a
questo
concept that is
focus
extremely hard
spread,
to do
un
with a
concetto
normal
molto
2D
difficile
camera.
da
In order
realizzare
to create
una
an image that has a
telefotocamera
very defined depth of
2D.
field,
C'è una
and then
profondità
other
di
areas
campo
in
definita,
the image
ci
are
sono
completely
delle
out of
altre
focus. You
aree
need to do either
dell'immagine
what's
che
called
sono
gravity or other
sfocate, quindi
approaches,
poi
and pull them
dovete
together in Photoshop
avere
to
approcci
create a very
diversi. In
distinct
Photoshop
depth of
potete
field and focal
creare
point. I can do this in
diversi punti
seconds because I
focali
have an
e
entire depth
profondità di
map.
campo diverse.
In this
Adesso
example,
questo è
I have
possibile
an image
realizzarlo in
where
pochissimi secondi. Ho un
the
esempio
man
di
is standing
un'immagine
in
in
Yosemite
cui l'uomo
on
è qui
the
in
edge of the
piedi
canyon, and he's got a
nel
background very far
canyon,
away from him,
vedete lo
and his
sfondo
hand
è
is very
molto
close.
lontano, la
Now you
mano
remember
invece è
on the
molto
camera,
vicino.
my Lytro
Allora,
button,
con
blue
il
is in the
mio,
foreground,
con il
4
pulsante
inches
sulla
in the
mia
background.
retrocamera
So
che
the
mi
blue here
dice che
represents an
il
item
blu
that's in
in questo
foreground of my
caso
focal point,
rappresenta una
and orange in
cosa
background.
in primo
I
piano
can
e
change the
l'arancione
depth
mi
that I would
rappresenta
like
una
to have
cosa
seen that's in
in
focus
sfondo. Io
and what's out
posso
of focus.
cambiare e posso
I'm
modificare le
moving this little
immagini che
slider
sono
bar. I can
sfocate
move the blue, I
e
can move
a
the
fuoco,
orange,
vedete
and I
che
can
posso
increase or
cambiare
decrease the gap or
tutta
the
la parte
focus
che si
spread
trova in
that's available,
arancione piuttosto
and
che
therefore defining the area is
in
going to
blu
be
e
a focus.
definire la messa a
This
fuoco.
one is an image that's set all the
Questa
way
è
to F1, a very
un'immagine in
shallow field.
F1
You can see that basically
e
only the middle part
vedete
of
qui
his
nella
body is
prova
in
base
focus.
si vede
This is out of
solo
focus
la
in front,
parte
and the back
centrale
is out
del
of focus in the
corpo
back.
della persona che ha
I
fuoco,
just
il
moved that
resto
slider
è
6
adesso
to
se io
F16.
lo
Now everything in the
sposto
entire
a
image is in
16
focus.
tutto
Again, the
quello
exact
che
same
c'è nella
image, but I just
fotografia
made the
è
entire depth of field
perfettamente a
fully in
fuoco
focus.
e ho anche la
Now if I
profondità di
want
campo
just the
perfettamente
man,
a fuoco.
including his hand, which is very close,
Quindi
in focus,
anche la
with the
mano della
background
persona
blurred
è
out,
molto
I can
vicina,
do that
è
by setting
perfettamente a
the
fuoco
background
e lo
only to
sfondo
F1
lo
using
è.
focus spread.
Quindi posso mettere lo
We'd like to be able
sfondo
to
su
show you this
F1
after
grazie a
the
photospread e le
presentation.
altre parti
First, I'm also going to
regolarle
show you
diversamente.
live
Adesso
here. I have to transition to working
devo
on the
fare
computer while I'm talking
un
here.
passaggio perché vorrei mostrarvi qualcosa sul computer. Scusate.
This is the desktop software. Again, this is free to download. It's either Mac or PC compatible. As you would expect from any photo editing software, in comes your images in your library. You can select any particular image, and you can see the information that was captured on that particular image. But what's most important, really, actually the reason I
Però
joined
una
this
cosa
company
ancora più
is because of
importante
this
di quella
one
per
little
cui
slider
sono
bar.
entrati in questa
You'll see this
azienda,
image
perché
has an
guardate la
amazing amount of
slide bar,
depth.
qui
If I
abbiamo
click
una
someplace on
grandissima
this image,
profondità di
you'll
campo
see the focus point
sull'immagine e
changing.
guardate se io clicco cambia
It's
il
not
punto
just about changing focus. What
focale,
you get from
non
this is
solo
you
per
have
la
an
messa
entire
a
depth field to
fuoco,
work
c'è
with.
una profondità di
In
campo
addition,
con cui potete
it's created a
veramente
3D
lavorare.
image.
Qui abbiamo l'immagine
As I move
3D,
my cursor,
una
you
mano
can
che
see that this
sposta
has
il
a 3D
cursore,
field.
vedete che si aggiunge
I
il
can actually
campo
render this in 3D,
tridimensionale,
and
posso
it
fare un
looks like that
rendering
that foot
in
is coming
3D
out to hit my face. But again, the thing that I like the most is this simple slider bar right here. Again, the image was captured at F2, but I can move that slider bar and change the image depth
fare
at
a
any time.
utilizzare la slide bar e la profondità di campo.
I also showed you the ability to
Allora
animate.
c'è anche
This
la
is the
possibilità
images,
di
or the
fare
interface that you have
un'animazione, guardate c'è
to do a 3D
un'interfaccia
animation. You can add
sull'immagine
different
che vi
transitions,
permette
you can
di
focus in,
realizzare dei
focus
film,
out,
aggiungere
you can
delle
make this mini
transazioni,
movie as long as you would like. In addition,
eliminare il focus, avere un'immagine più sfocata, avere un'immagine più a
every
fuoco.
image you
Tutte le
have is rendered as 3D.
immagini possono
In anaglyph,
essere
you use the red
rese
glasses,
in
or in side by side
3D
on a 3D
e
TV.
possono essere anche
The 3D
affiancate
images that come out of
sulla
this, even though it's a
televisione
single barrel lens, are
tridimensionale.
really quite compelling.
Quindi
Most of
devo
the
dire che
3D
i
cameras
risultati
use two
sono
lenses to create the
straordinari. La
optical
maggior
separation
parte
to
delle
3D, to create 3D.
fotocamere in
Yet every
3D
single
usano una
image you take
doppia
with Lytro
ottica,
is available
invece con
to
Lytro
manipulate in that way.
noi abbiamo
I'm
un
going to share
sistema
with
che mi
you a
permette poi
focus
di
spread.
manipolare l'immagine. Voglio mostrarvi qualcos'altro di focus
This is an image.
spread.
You can
Questa è
see as I click
un'immagine.
through this, there are different layers
Ci sono
to this
vari
image. The
strati
background is blurred out,
dell'immagine,
but I've
lo
captured
sfondo
the roses falling. So I've captured an action.
fuori
If you were to try to do this
però
with
se
any other
cercate
approach,
di tenere
because
lo
it's
stesso
falling,
risultato
we would be able to do graphics. It would be out of
altri
focus. But I can capture a layer that I want to have in
fotocamera
focus and make everything else out of focus. Before that, and remember orange background. So I've highlighted the background here in orange. And because that background is now highlighted and everything else is not, I can change what is done with that background layer.
Vediamo che cosa
It's
si può
already at
fare
F1, but I can move it at 16. And now everything's
l'immagine.
focused,
Possiamo arrivare
or I
fino
can
a
go further out,
F16
just use that one
e quindi avere un'immagine
layer
più
in focus.
nitida
And I can
oppure
change that layer to be as
averla
small or
più
as big as I want it to
Posso
be.
decidere anche la grandezza.
It may be hard to grasp exactly how amazing
dell'immagine.
this
Quindi
particular
vedete
functionality is until you play with it and you
importanti
see
sono queste
picture image being done.
funzionalità e quanto possono migliorare l'immagine.
I need the iPad, will just
Adesso
put the iPad up.
avrei bisogno dell'iPad perché vi voglio mostrare delle cose.
Of course, with any image, we want to be able to share that image. And one of the ways that we have provided is another free application, which is an iPad or iOS app you can use on an iPhone or an iPad. And what's unique about this is not only can you share it, if you're a professional photographer, you can upload your images to the app and share them with your clients, or they can download it. But as you can see, as I move this iPad, it's taking advantage of the accelerometer to take advantage of the 3D effects that are already created in an image. It's called perspective shift. And this movement is a 3D effect. In addition,
permette di avere l'effetto tridimensionale.
As I move on this iPad, and there are iPads you'll be able to interface with afterwards. Basically, just put your fingers in a circle and twist. And I can change it dynamically to a full F16 or back to F1. As you play with this, you'll be able to quickly see just how dynamic the depth of field is. And if I click any place on this image, then I'll be able to change the focus point. And very quickly, I can change it back to a full F16. Each one of these images, as you see, takes advantage of the 3D nature, both as you share between images, but also the accelerometer that allows you to show this called perspective. I want to spend a lot of time on that because we'll be able to show you those on the iPads we have available after the presentation as well. I've just explained the mobile side of it. If you look at the full ecosystem, you've got a camera, you've got the desktop software, you've got mobile apps that are all available to you, as well as a web app that allows you to share images. As you take a picture, you can upload it to Lytro.com. It's fully interactive. You can change the focus, you can change the depth of field, even though it wasn't your picture. You can share those images with Facebook, or Twitter, or Pinterest, or you can export them as MP4s or JPEGs or TIFFs. Pretty much any usage and with life, or of course you can experience on the mobile. So finally, I'm going to leave you with just some insights into what the pros are saying about Lytro. Our target audiences are really professionals and what we call prosumers, creative professionals, people who are interested in telling a story. Also people who are aware of and used to using depth of field. This is not a camera that's just going to fix bad pictures. People say, well, you're never going to take a bad picture. We all know photographers. It takes a good composition to have a good talk, a good photo. This is an amazing macro. I would hope that as you play with the camera afterwards, you take a look at how close you can get and actually touch the lens or render features on the lens. That's how tight the macro is. As I mentioned, nature and macro in nature is also a very strong genre for us as well. Let's take a look at some of the pros. This is the first guy is a guy named Chris Burkhardt. He's an action sports kind of photographer. You can find an in-depth documentary that he's done on Iceland on our website as well.
My name is Chris Burkhardt. I'm an adventure photographer from Central California, and I've traveled the entire world looking for wild places. Well, that means standing in an ice cold, freezing beach at sunrise, with a wind blowing up the glacier, and you can barely feel your fingers.
Fino a quando ti si congelano le dita per fare alcuni tipi di foto.
I think that to me as a photographer is what
La
keeps
fotografia
going
per me è qualcosa di veramente
The
straordinario.
beauty of the Illum is
La
the
bellezza
photographer that wants to be
dei
out there,
limiti,
experiencing up to a full.
le esperienze estreme della vita,
It keeps me being able to come back to places that I love
di
so much
ritornare in
and not to
posti
let
che
it
amo.
go. I mean, that's
E
photography at its
documentare.
finest.
La fotografia è questo per me, è questa bellezza.
There's a much longer documentary
Un
available so you
documentario
can see
molto
what
più
his
lungo, volevo
style
solo
and
darvi
approach he
un'idea
takes
dello
to
stile, dell'approccio.
This is Matthias Fenn, the German photographer.
Questo è Mattias Fahn, il fotografo tedesco,
Why are images so inspiring to
perché
us?
le nostre immagini
What is
ci
the reason?
ispirano così tanto. Qual è il motivo?
Why did it show us an emotion?
Perché scegliamo
Is it the
di
moment,
mostrare un'emozione? Questo
the
momento
perspective,
giusto, la prospettiva,
or is it the story
qual è la
behind it?
storia, la storia che c'è dietro le immagini.
When I picked up the Illum for the first time,
Quando
my vision of photography has changed.
eh,
My name is Matthias Fenn, and I'm a commercial and action photographer from Germany.
fotografo commerciale per la Germania.
This camera gives me the opportunity to tell my story in a different way.
L'opportunità di raccontare la mia storia.
From now on,
A partire da oggi
I don't capture flat images,
non
I will take interactive, living pictures.
immagini fisse, ma prenderò immagini interattive, immagini vive.
Some of the things that Matthias does
Altre
is
cose che
delivers them
fa
commercially to clients and uses them in social marketing. So, using
queste
an
fotografie
Illum
ai
for
suoi
commercial photography to tell brand
la
story
fotografia
is very
commerciale
different than
permette
it's
di
difficult to do
raccontare la
photos.
storia
For
di un
marketing
marchio
agencies, as an
ed è
example,
completamente
we
diversa
found
dalla
that using
storia che si
interactive
può
images on a
raccontare
site
con
will
un'immagine
retain
in
customers
cui
up to
c'è
5 times
una
longer than a typical
fotografia
page with a static
interattiva.
2D
Quindi
image.
questo permette a chi
These are some
mostra le
examples
foto su
of what we call in
internet
pictures. You
di
can see
mantenere
what's called perspective
l'attenzione
shift. As you move the image around,
dell'utente
this
5-6
3D
volte di
effect
più.
is available
Abbiamo
on
poi
every
effetti
image
3D
that has
disponibili
depth
su
to it.
tutte le immagini che hanno una profondità di campo.
We're also, as I mentioned, focused on the wedding market. Some of the most famous wedding photographers in the world are actually already using the camera. I wanted to use this one quote because this very famous photographer called Hansen Fong is using them to be able to deliver his images to them on a smartphone using our app. And having a dynamic image you can work through and change focus and change perspective after the fact is a great way
di
for
questa fotocamera
customers to
particolare può
interact with
cambiare
their
la
images,
focalizzazione,
especially in
può
the wedding
cambiare lo
environment.
studio. Capite che nel mercato dei
This is another
matrimoni questa
photographer
è una
called
grande
I'm John
cosa.
Mari, and I am a wedding photographer alongside my wife Jennifer.
in New York and Connecticut. We're utilizing the Lytro Illum alongside traditional capture at weddings because, number one, it separates us from our competition, and number two, it allows us to compose, capture, and share moments like never before. What's unique about the Lytro Illum is that with your creative vision and just one single exposure, you're able to create so many unique products, such as living picture galleries, 2D and 3D slideshow animations, even printed photographs that emphasize emotions differently and from different perspectives. And that's what makes the Lytro Illum a lot of fun. We've been incorporating it at weddings because it allows us to give something completely different to our clients in their slideshows and after the fact. And so it's been a creative tool that has allowed us to kind of wow our clients in creative new ways. This is an exciting time in imaging because technology is propelling artists, photographers, and filmmakers forward and allowing us to imagine differently and create things that are compelling. And the Lytro Illum is one of those cameras that really allows us to think outside the box.
I'll finish with just a few examples of living images here. Each one of these images are single shots that are being animated through a different, telling a particular story. And I'll finish with just, as an example, this is just one of many genres of photography. Wedding, as I mentioned, typically a wedding photographer has printed their albums and then eventually starts to give out digital copies of it. And of course, in parallel with video, we see this as a fourth aspect to the wedding photographer's portfolio. They can create unique differentiation, but also assets that they can use to earn more money. And again, I'll summarize where I started to begin with. The evolution of the industry goes from the analog film industry to digital to what we believe now is the next evolution, what we call camera 3.0, using 3D rich data, computational photography, truly to change the face of photography. Thank you for your time.
Spero che la presentazione sia stata molto chiara. Se ci sono domande. Arriva subito col microfono, quindi le traduciamo direttamente.
Ci sono. Dunque, i due componenti principali del sistema, abbiamo visto, sono la lente e il software. Quello che chiedevo è come avviene l'interfaccia di trasmissione dei dati, nel senso, il software ha bisogno di dati di input. Questi dati di input gli arrivano dalla lente, ma gli arrivano da una lente che è semplicemente una lente in cui c'è una lavorazione particolare, viene catturato lo spettro in una maniera particolare, oppure sulla lente sono presenti dei dispositivi elettronici tipo microchip che mandano proprio dei dati sensibili al sistema. Volevo sapere come avviene il dialogo tra software e dispositivo di cattura dell'immagine, ecco.
Thank you for your question.
Grazie per la domanda.
It's about the interaction
Allora,
between
parla
the software and how
dell'interazione
our
tra
image is
il
captured.
software e l'immagine.
The image is captured on a
L'immagine
sensor,
viene
just like a regular
catturata
camera.
su un
The
sensore
sensor
come una
has
normale
a microlens array in front of the sensor, which the software then anticipates where the light is going to go, and basically does what we call ray tracing. It's as if the ray of light kept on going, and the software anticipates that. So the capture is a regular sensor, just like a regular camera. But after that, you have information that's available, what we call a depth map. And that depth map and the information around the image are available in the software to manipulate. In the software, even though on the back of the camera you can touch and change focus point, you are able to do most of that work after the fact in the software.
Dopo, per modificare
So I answered your
sul
question?
software. Ho risposto alla domanda?
The chip,
Allora, il chip,
there's a processor
c'è un
which allows
processore
to,
che permette
there's a Snapdragon processor
c'è un
which allows you
Snapdragon che
which
vi
is in the
permette
camera,
all'interno
processing
della
images and
fotocamera
also
che
providing
elabora
real-time
le
feedback.
immagini, ha un
But the
feedback in
actual
tempo
image
reale,
capture is on a
ma
sensor.
l'immagine viene
Kind of sensor,
catturata su un
but the
sensore
software
come una sorta
also
di
traces where
megapixel, e
the light would
questo
go,
è in grado
and
di
ultimately gives you the
tracciare
information you need to use
dove
in the
va
software
la
afterwards.
luce e le
That depth map
informazioni del
is what is
software.
really powering the ability to
Quindi
move
questa
depth field,
mappa
focus,
di
animation,
profondità è
3D.
molto forte e permette poi di realizzare le animazioni tridimensionali. Sorry, the question is not put into the mic, Dieter.
Vedi? La possibilità. Stavo andando in tutto. La possibilità di ritoccare l'immagine può avvenire anche in un secondo tempo, nel senso che una volta che io catturo un'immagine, quindi faccio una fotografia, metto dei dati all'interno del software. Questi dati mi rimangono così e poi io li posso modificare come voglio, come avete fatto vedere nell'immagine, in un secondo tempo, oppure ci sono dei passaggi che devo fare subito per poter avere l'immagine perfetta come la voglio.
No, just like any image that's captured in a 2D
Qualsiasi
image, of
immagine
course you can
2D
refine it. You
viene
can make it
catturata
better.
l'immagine, poi
Sometimes
si
you want to
può
export the image you
perfezionare, si
captured
può
in Lytro
migliorare.
to
Voi
Photoshop, to do
potete
things in Photoshop you
decidere
normally do
di
with any image.
utilizzare l'immagine
But generally
catturata
speaking,
con
you don't have to change anything. As soon as you
modificarla
import
con
it,
Photoshop.
you have the
Nel
ability to
momento
change
in
the
cui
focus,
l'immagine
change
viene
depth field, do the
importata,
animation,
così
produce 3D.
com'è, si
All that
possono
capability is
effettuare
there
tutte le
immediately when you
azioni
import
di
it. No
modifica,
other step.
passaggio a 3D, miglioramento, cambiamento della profondità di campo e tutte le altre cose. Tutto viene fatto quando l'immagine è catturata immediatamente.
Tecniche. No, volevo sapere se cioè questa messa a punto, diciamo, di questa macchina fotografica così performante, ha impiegato più anni, cioè lo studio di svariati anni, quindi in particolare quanti e quante persone dedicate. Grazie.
The first dissertation was done about almost 10 years ago, 9 to 10 years ago. The company was formed about 7 years ago. Had many engineers involved originally. We got to be over 110 people. I would say probably 80% of the company was engineers. I think we probably had 25 PhDs on the staff. Really the foremost minds in computational photography and optics, in lenses, and of course the software. And so it's been many years to bring this to market. One of the questions we always get is, do we expect competitors to quickly come and duplicate this? We would love to see somebody else come into the market. They're not going to be able to do it the same way as we do because we have 26 patents around the hardware and software interface already issued, plus another over 40 that are filed. But the capability itself has taken a lot of time and a lot of work to get to this point, which is why it's so powerful.
Sono state veramente enormi e quindi il prodotto è potente.
Che impatto vi aspettate sul mercato? Cioè, mi spiego meglio, in percentuale quanto pensate di rosicchiare alle quote, diciamo, già di vendita che vi sono su macchine similari, quindi professionali di questo tipo?
The question about
La
market
domanda
share.
sulla quota di mercato.
That's a great question.
Allora, è una bella domanda questa, perché noi vorremmo avere una grossa quota di mercato e
I think
credo che
if you look back at the
se voi
transition from
guardate
film
al
to digital,
periodo di
it took some time for
transizione
digital. We think now,
tipo di
no
immagine su
problem with digital,
pellicola
but it took some time.
all'immagine
There were a lot of
digitale
people
c'è
that
voluto
were
un po' di
against that
tempo,
transition.
c'erano
Film
molte
was
persone
perfect, could not be
contrarie
better.
a questa
Well, we know there's
transizione
other
perché la
capabilities now
foto
with
non era
digital. We think the same
perfetta,
transition
adesso
will take some
invece
time
tutto
with
è
this kind of
digitale.
photography.
Crediamo
And
che
we
la
don't
stessa
believe that it's only going to come
transizione
with Lytro
sarà
Illum.
necessaria per il
The
passaggio
use
dal
of the
digitale a
technology
questo
will
tipo
likely
di
happen
tecnologie,
outside of
soprattutto
traditional
l'uso
photography.
della
We've announced that
che
we
è
are focusing on
fuori
how you can see we produce
fotografica
3D
tradizionale,
with
perché
many
noi siamo
other
in grado di
iterations
creare
of the
realtà
technology that can
virtuale,
happen.
siamo
So it's
in
not just
grado di
about
fare
market
molte
share in the
cose,
camera
quindi
market alone,
penso che
but in many other
non
technologies.
voglio
I
parlare
don't
di
have a
quota di
specific number to tell you as to what our target is, but believe
nel
me,
nostro
even if
settore
it's
della
2%,
fotografia, ma penso
many, many
veramente che
units in
possa
this very, very
essere
big market.
in
And again, I
altri
think it will take
settori,
some
anche
time
se
for
sono
the
poche
technology to
percentuali,
really
quelle
be
che
a
noi
very
potremmo
strong player as
erodere
a first
al
consideration.
mercato attuale, questo sarebbe già un grande vantaggio e potremmo poi considerare altri sviluppi futuri.
Sì, io avevo due domande. La prima è se è pensabile in futuro di poter usare questo tipo di tecnologia anche per il video, cioè per le immagini in movimento, o se è una cosa che richiede troppa elaborazione. La seconda domanda invece è come mai rispetto al modello di camera precedente, diciamo, avete cambiato così tanto, nel senso che mi sembra che quella fosse indirizzata a un mercato soprattutto consumer, questa invece mi sembra che abbiate spostato verso l'alto, diciamo, le aspettative, insomma.
Very good questions, thank you.
Grazie mille, ottima domanda.
I'll start with the second question, which
Parto
is,
dalla seconda domanda.
sorry.
Scusate, ho dimenticato.
Yes.
Ok.
I think we learned a lot
Allora, abbiamo
from the
imparato
first product.
molto dal primo prodotto.
We learned about what it takes to actually do light field photography in
Abbiamo
general.
capito
We learned about the
che cosa
ecosystem.
si può
The
fare
desktop software in
con la
particular
politica
is
di campo,
greatly
il
enhanced from the
software
first one.
veramente
But most importantly, we
attuale, è stato
realized
molto
that
migliorato rispetto al primo, però noi abbiamo
people who could really take
capito
advantage
che le
of light field
persone che
photography
possono
were probably
veramente
hiring
sfruttare
people,
la
hiring
fotografia
photographers.
non
And what are they used to? They're used to something that looks like what they're used to. With a digital DSLR kind of form factor. We also have a lens that is truly unique, and that requires a different form factor. It captures much more light, has massive zoom, and so many of those things contributed to the change. I also showed you a Lytro Illum that gives you the ability to see depth assist before you take it. That technology in itself took a long time to develop because it's showing dynamic depth range before you take it.
Per poter realizzare questo prodotto. Adesso scusate, ho dimenticato la prima domanda. Mi può ripetere la prima domanda? Ha il video, la possibilità di avere di essere utilizzata anche per allora, devo dire che
So, as amazing as it is to take a still image and to change the focus in depth field,
perché
think
possiamo
about
prendere
that video.
un'immagine fissa
For
e
all who are in
trasformarla in
videography in
video.
some way or in broadcast, being able to change the focus in depth field of video truly will be game changing. It will revolutionize the video industry. There are massive industries dedicated to just what we call focus pulling in video. So the potential is huge. There are hurdles. This single image is taken by the Illum is a 52 megabyte file. Has a lot of information in it. To do video, we're talking about massive amounts of data streaming, upwards of potentially a gigabyte per second. So you've got issues with storage. More important, you already brought up the point of the processor. Having a processor that's powerful enough to fit in a form factor like this and to process that much information in real time literally does not exist in the world. There is nothing about powerful enough. We, however, can do video right now. We have a number of different iterations of it, and the capability to work with that depth map in video is truly phenomenal. But we are using massive data storage and server level processing, even using internet-based processing. But we are working on that in the same way as we develop the technology for this. All of our PhDs
è sicuramente un vantaggio, però stiamo lavorando ancora per migliorare quelle che sono le nostre tecnologie in fotografia computazionale. Ho risposto alla domanda?
Ci sono altre domande? Vediamo due note tecniche sulla distribuzione in Italia. Il prodotto sarà disponibile dal 25 marzo, quindi ieri, sono state fatte le prime consegne ai punti vendita specializzati in Italia. Il prezzo suggerito al pubblico sarà di 1.299 euro. I punti vendita che tratteranno questo brand saranno presenti sul nostro sito, quindi www.fowa.it/rivenditori. Si potrà consultare tutta la lista dei 45 punti vendita presenti su tutto il territorio. Grazie al fototour sarà possibile testare il prodotto dal 10 aprile al 16 maggio presso tutte le location che trovate indicate nel flyer all'interno della vostra cartellina. Grazie per l'attenzione, possiamo spostare nella sala scatto qua di fianco dove sarà possibile testare il prodotto accanto a Andrea Viano, il nostro tecnico specializzato. Le nostre fanciulle ci accompagneranno. Grazie per l'attenzione.